Hello and welcome to this module 10 of the NOC course on symbolic logic. We just have finished understanding symbolization, how it is done in the previous module, and I asked you to sort of give yourself a little bit of a practice and careful reading and patient analysis and so on. So, if you have done that, then you have grasped how symbolization works in PL. If not, we will try to address that, but together today what our plan is to move forward with symbolization a little bit. We just started in a very sort of elementary way. Today you might see some more complex symbolization. So, today's agenda is to see the use of connectives in other contexts, in various contexts, and then also to understand more complex symbolization. When I say complex symbolization, I mean that where you do not have those 5 standard connectives, but there are these words, and these are logical words that are thrown at you, and you are supposed to decipher them with the use of the 5 connectives. So, we are going to see some of those situations with English examples, and then we do the translation together. So, that is going to be our agenda today. Let us start by doing some symbolizations together. Here is a sentence: Syria is in turmoil now. It will lead to a prolonged internal war and the country will not be in peace. All right. So, here you are, that given SIC, S stands for Syria is in turmoil now, I is for it will lead to a prolonged internal war, and C stands for the country will not be in peace. Okay. Now, this one we see, the reason I have chosen this one is that there is something little unusual about the first proposition. In what sense? That we find that this sentence ends with a semicolon, and then the second proposition starts. So, in a way, this semicolon is a connective that we need to interpret using our 5 basic connectives. What will be the proper connective to use here? That is first question. And then the remaining one is there. Second point is that if you think this semicolon is one of those 5 connectives, which one you think it is the closest approximation to? Is it not? Is it and? Is it either or? Is it if then? Or is it if and only if? Now, if you read the sentence, you will say this has to be closest one is that is going to be is and or conjunction, because anything else does not fit into the scheme of the way we can understand the proposition. So, if it is conjunction, then here is also an and. See, the semicolon is an and then there is an and. In that case, again the question comes about the grouping. How am I going, if all of this, there is this 2 dots, how do I group it? And your answer lies from the reading of the proposition. How to group it? Which one is going to be my main dot, the main connective? Read again and you will find that the sentence naturally pauses at a certain place, which is here. Syria is in turmoil now, pause, it will lead to a prolonged internal war and the country will not be in peace. So, this is going to be your main pause, main connective. This whole thing is going to be your other conjunct. So, let us see if we have picked up this nuances from the proposition, then how to translate this. Okay. So, as I said, there is this dot instead of the semicolon. This and is very clearly the dot here. Why this dot is the main and this dot is sub? I have tried to give that answer also, that there is a natural pause in the way the sentence is constructed, so that this whole thing becomes another conjunct. Some of you will say, but why are you using not C, tilde C? Isn't C the whole thing? The country will not be in peace. I have given the answer earlier also. The usual way to read this key is that when you have C, it stands for the simple proposition. What is the simple proposition? The country will be in peace. The country will not be in peace, or it is not the case the country will be in peace. That is a compound proposition, which is why C stands for the simple, the country will be in peace. Therefore, the translation is not C. All right. Has that helped? So, slowly, go slow in the beginning, but this is how to pick up on your translation skills. Let us try another one. If Mona wears green, but Jay wears blue, then Bobby wears red if Sunny wears white, right? I mean, these are colorful people. So, here you are, and these are obvious choices, A, M, J, B, S standing for the names. Now, what is happening here? And what is the main connective? There are so many connectives here. Here is but, here is if, there is then, there is if, and so on. But what is the main connective here? Which one ranges over the whole sentence? How to read that? And then again we start at the beginning and we go here, here is a comma, and then comes the then, right. So, this portion seems to be an antecedent and this portion seems to be the consequent. So, this if and this then is your main connective. So, this is a conditional statement or a horseshoe statement. So, if this happens, then this happens, all right. So, that is our first thing that we have figured it out. What will happen in the antecedent? We find that there is a but. By now, we know that the but is the closest one that we can replace it with is the conjunction or the dot, all right. That is easy. So, we are talking about M dot J, fine. Then what is happening in the consequent? Bobby wears red if Sunny wears white. Bobby wears red if Sunny wears white. So, we find that there is an if then sentence even here. But what is the antecedent? I said what follows the if is the antecedent. Therefore, in this case Sunny wears white is the antecedent, Bobby wears red is the consequent. So, if you have grasped that, then the translation is going to be very easy to do and we are going to require some bracketing also. So, let us check what we can do. We said the if then is the main connective. So, here is the main connective and I said the antecedent is like Mona wears green and or but Jay wears blue, fine. And then here comes the other if then sentence which is your consequent, which I said whatever follows the if is the antecedent. So, Sunny wears white is your antecedent, Bobby wears red is your consequent, all right. And no need to have a separate parenthesis around this, because remember the horseshoe is a binary connective. So, its range goes from here and goes up to here. This is its antecedent, this is its consequent, all right. So, that is your translation of the second sentence. Here is another one. We are going to the mountain though the weather is not good. There are two sentences. So, M and G, and by now you should know what it is about. So, we are going to the mountain is your M and weather is good is G, all right. So, weather is not good is not G. G stands for the weather is good. Main thing to find out in this case is how to read the though. What is the closest connective to though? Again, is it not? Is it either or? Is it the and? Is it the if then, or is it the if and only if? And again a little bit brain racking will tell you that this is going to be again a conjunction, a dot. This, though, this, okay, and that is a conjunction sense of conjunction. If you know this now, this is going to be your main connective, and we are going to just connect these two sentences. The translation is going to be very easy. This is simple, M dot not G, for reasons that I have explained with. So, I leave it in front of you. These are just beginning of your translation skills, and slowly we are going to, you need to practice a little bit. So, take sentences of your choice and try to plug this newfound knowledge of connectives into it to see how the translation in PL is going to be done. What I have just shown you are rather still more or less at the elementary level, though we have tried to understand them with some finesse. But now, let me take some connectives which are not at all, they do not even pretend to be very simple. Say for example, take a look. Suppose we talk about unless, P unless Q. P unless Q. What am I saying? P happens unless Q happens. So, when Q does not happen, P holds. This is one way to read it. You will say, but you can also read it as that if Q happens, P is not going to happen. True, that also is the case, but you are beginner. So, P unless Q, you can safely say that if Q does not happen, P is going to hold. P's holding is default unless Q. All right. So, let us take a look. The way to translate it will be through some sort of if then or its equivalent disjunction. As we progress, we will see how the implication and disjunction, implication means horseshoe and disjunction means the either or the well, how they are equivalent. We will try to learn that as we go along, but right now take my word, and this is how to translate P unless Q. So, if Q does not happen, P holds, or the equivalent of this is going to be QHP or P well Q. All right. So, look at the way this is translated. P unless Q is a rather strange kind of a connective, but this is how it works. If that did not help you to understand this, let me take you an actual proposition. I will buy the tickets unless Bala already has paid for them. This is your T, this is your B. I will do this, that holds, unless this happens. Okay. So, if this does not happen, this is going to hold. That is the way, one way to read that. So, translation wise, you might go like this, if not B, then T, or what is its equivalent, BUHT or TUHB. Okay. This is how to translate the unless. There are more connectives like this which are rather strange. For example, not both. Not both. When you say both A and B, obviously that is a conjunction. But what is it that you are saying when you are saying not both? What you are doing, remember, you are denying the conjunction. You are saying it is not the case that both. Okay. How does that work? How do we represent that with the symbols? So, where P and Q are any given two propositions, not both P and Q, you are saying it is not the case that both P and Q. All right. You are denying their conjunction, not individually, not both. Both of them will not be done. Not both, for example, not both Reena and Azad will be in the team. One of them might get in, okay, but not both. So, the correct way to approach this is to understand it as a, it is not the case that both of them will be in the team. You are beginners, so I suggest that you try to get this in as not both. Its equivalent is of course this, either it will not be Reena or it will not be Azad, that is sure, but maybe at the beginning get used to looking at not both as a, it is not the case that both, and that should help you in your translation key. So, this was a sort of a different kind of a thing, and here comes our other one, equally confusing. Sometimes students get confused over this, neither nor. Earlier we have seen the not both, here we are saying neither this nor this, neither P nor Q. When you say that, what is it that you are doing? What you are doing is that you are denying their disjunction. This is very different from saying not both. This is where you are individually rejecting each of them. So, you are denying the disjunction or the equivalent, whatever comes out. Many of you have done through the CNF, DNF. So, you may have some idea about their equivalence, but we will come there when the time comes. So, let us take this. I am saying neither P nor Q. What I am telling, it is not the case either P or Q. It is not the case either P or Q, or its equivalent. P is not going to be the case and Q is not going to be the case, whichever suits you to understand this, but neither nor is not to be treated like not both. That is my first request for you to consider. I'll plug the same sentence for you to understand this. This is neither Reena nor Azad will be in the team. So, we are not saying not both, we are saying she is not going to be in the team, he is also not going to be in the team. So, you can go like this, or you can say it is not the case either Reena or Azad is going to be in the team. Okay? Does that help? Let us take a closer one also. When you say both not, both of them will not be in the team. Not both is one way to go, this is both not. Both not, remember, is the same as saying neither nor. Okay? Both not. So, both Reena and Azad will not be in the team. You can go, you can treat it as a neither nor proposition or statement. There are many other connectives that you can also encounter and try to translate. I am not going to mention all of them, but just few, just so that you have some idea that how the translation might work, that just because we have 5 connective does not limit us to what. Say for example, you have P just in case Q. Just in case is not any of the connectives that we have been exposed so far, but just in case stands for both necessary and sufficient condition. So, in a way just in case is the other name for if and only if. All right. Now, this I am not saying that you are supposed to know this, but the readings are such and the logical analysis will tell you why this has to be the case. As a beginner, note that just in case is nothing but the triple bar in your connective. So, the translation of this is going to be P triple bar Q. This is a rather interesting one, P whether or not Q. P happens or P holds whether Q holds or does not. Okay. So, one way to go about that is to say P happens and Q or not Q. Okay. So, this is one way to capture what we are trying to say, whether or not Q. Now, these two, the last two are left little bit advanced, and I just thought about introducing you to this, so that you understand that translation is more interesting and it can get quite complex, but this is how far at least we need to know. And translation wise, I always say that, you know, slow understanding and a little careful and rather, what should I say, more patient treatment of the proposition will help you in getting the translation. But you need to understand the connectives, you need to understand what is the scope of the connective, and you also need to understand the intended grouping in the proposition, and that is how the symbolization in PL will work. So, this is how far I will go in this module, and next module onwards we are going to start something else. Thank you very much.